Welcome to the DARE podcast, where it is all about helping people overcome anxiety and panic attacks. The DARE app has over 1 million downloads and is free to download at dareresponse.com. Now, without further ado, here is the DARE podcast.
Hello. Hi, everybody. Hi. Hi, who's here? Feel free to pop on in the chat and say hi. Aida should be here any second. I probably bumped her out when I came in for some reason. That keeps happening. I'll give her a minute to join in. A lot of questions, guys, like 30-something questions. We're going to focus and we're going to try and get through as many of them as possible. Let me open this chat here. Hi, guys. So who's here? Write in the chat and say hi.
Hello, Michelle.
Hello, Aida. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good, good.
Oh, all right. Shall we get right into it?
Let's go, girl. I found the chapter in the book on being compassionate to yourself very informative, but quite hard reading. I've come to realize that I have developed a lot of self-critical beliefs, and now lots of situations, particularly work-related, trigger having catastrophic negative automatic thought loops. Excuse me. This is the main source of my anxiety. Any advice on applying the DARE response to this particular area? This is a big thing. This is a big thing that either it's kind of like if you're making progress, but you're beating yourself up along the way. It's kind of like you're driving on the road, but throwing rocks in front of your own path. Who does, I'd like to hear who does this. Who's kind of stuck in there? Your own negative self-talk, not being compassionate to yourself, beating yourself up every time you get it wrong. All the people in chat here. And I know my chat's on now. Yeah, time's wishing I was over this already. Me, I do.
Well, there is so much to say about this. So let me start with the least exciting thing and maybe unusual way of looking at this. I know that we hear or the notion of loving yourself and accepting yourself and everything being rainbow and pinky sounds all really good. The problem is that it's really hard to move from self-criticism and self-loathing to self-love, right? It's a far stretch. So I would suggest to lower your expectations a little bit and don't critique yourself so much for critiquing yourself. Maybe just accept it at this moment.
Critique yourself or critiquing yourself. We're so freaking good at that stuff, right?
At this moment, and by the way, a belief is just a thought you keep thinking over and over and over and over. So it's not something that makes up your personality. That's really important to differentiate those two things, a thought and a core belief. But going back, don't critique yourself for critiquing yourself that much. It is okay to feel sad about not being where you want to be. And I've talked about this in my last call. We always say applaud your little successes, but when you have been a person who never feared anything and all of a sudden you should applaud yourself for stepping outside of your house and walking half a mile in comparison to your life before, of course, that doesn't seem like something extraordinary. You should pat yourself on the back, right? So that is okay. But start with, how about self-respect? So notice whenever your mind is judging you and then say, oh, here goes my mind judging me again. And just try to distance yourself from the thought a little bit. Don't try to replace the thought with self-love and self-compassion. If it's not possible, if it doesn't feel authentic, you will know that by practicing these little steps of being respectful to yourself or even just neutral about your progress, you will notice that your attitude starts to soften. And when it softens up a little bit, then there is the time and place to nurture deeper compassion and deeper love. But it is a process, and it does not come from just saying, I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you. It comes from doing. The relationship is in the doing and showing yourself with acts of kindness that you are there for yourself.
Yeah, that's like the steps of DARE too. It's like saying, I accept and allow this anxious thought. I love myself. I'm a great person. I can do hard things. Like words, they're just dead words if they're not pinned to some sort of action and behaviors. And if you're using it to try and convince themselves to elicit a feeling, just like the whole, I accept and allow, this is exhausting. I can't do this all day long. Do you show me accept, and allow, right? I sound like what's the game? Family Feud, right? Show me. And so like, it's the same thing. Show me, this was a post a while ago, like, show me what love looks like. It doesn't have to be a feeling. It could be, well, if I love something or somebody, I treat them like this. I do this for them. I do this to them. Like, even just kind of being, you could be nice, right? Maybe treat yourself the same way you treat other people, because most of the people on these calls, my years with Dare, really nice to everybody else, but really awful to themselves. And it's like, you're with you till the end of the day. You might as well start getting along with yourself, be your own best friend.
And take some responsibility. People often say, it just happens. No, it doesn't just happen. Honestly, we're not putting enough effort into noticing our own critique and then doing something about it. We're just allowing it to be there. And we're like, oh, I'm so critical of myself. Yeah, because you're allowing yourself to be so critical of yourself. Just stop. Make a decision to say, no, from today on, I'm going to be at least neutral. And I'm going to put effort into noticing whenever that chatter is going on in my mind. And then I'm going to distance myself from it. I'm going to take the time and effort to do this, because it really does make a huge difference, right? It is so, having anxiety and going through recovery is so hard on its own. But if you beat yourself up constantly about it, you will not only prolong your recovery, but you won't feel as free and as great even when you're out of it.
Right. And that's why, even if you're doing it wrong, right? Oh, I bailed out of the work meeting, and then you beat yourself up. You can still be nice to yourself while you do things not right. Right. And that's like how, like, I'm going to make mistakes. How do I treat myself while I make mistakes? If I'm beating myself up, and if that's how you grew up, if you grow up always being shit on, like, never be like that, that's another thing, right? That could add to it, right? If like nobody was nice to me, or I was never taught to be nice to myself, or that's how I was sort of motivated to do things, by like making myself feel badly. Well, what a great freaking time to start changing that than right now. You know, I mean, really, it's, again, easier said than done, but this is the doable stuff. I get to choose the words that come out of my mouth. So I'm going to start kind of being a little more conscious of being a little more fair.
Oh, I like that, Michelle. That's the doable stuff. That is so right. That is so on point. Because even if your parents or adults in your childhood have never modeled how it is to take care of yourself and to love yourself, it is never, ever too late. This is something that is actually quite simple to do, because all you need to do is do more good, be kinder, right? Notice more the shitty stuff that is going on, but the rest of it is really just being kinder and adding to your quality of life. So definitely go for that.
Yeah, there's no negative side effect being kind to yourself.
No.
None.
Will my fear of medication ever go away?
Yes. No.
Depends.
So that question is cut and paste to a lot of other questions. My fear of driving ever go away? That's come my fear of this particular thought ever go away? Will my fear of extreme exhaustion ever go away? So as we go through the questions, this is going to be our main answer, right? Our fear of what was the first question? Our fear of what? Medication.
Mm-hmm.
So remember, this is kind of the essence of Dare. It's not to get rid of fear. It's to show fear there is no danger. And that's done by your actions and your behaviors. So your alarm has now pinned fear to a particular thing that it thinks you need to do something about. Okay, so here is survival energy, so you can engage in survival behaviors. And if you engage in survival behaviors about the thing, right, your body's going to keep cranking out fear as long as you keep surviving through. Every time I take a pill, or every time I get in the car, or every time something's going to happen, I do a lot of pre-work, right? Bracing yourself, waiting, building up, and then I take it and I hang on for dear life and I try and calm down. And then I act as if basically I survived through a situation. That's what kind of keeps the fear pumping. The goal here with Dare is to get better at being scared. Just being scared without any other action involved, really. Like, wow, my body sends me a whole lot of fear to take medication, and you're not directly getting rid of fear. You're acting like taking medication or taking a drive or whatever it is you're doing is not danger. Dares for your actions and responses. Fear will go, but it leaves on its own. Fear shows itself to the door when it's like, are you sure? Are you sure? You okay? Are you fine? You want me to stay around? Are you sure? And if you act like, yeah, you can stay if you want, but this is safe. Fear leaves, but fear leaves indirectly, not by your direct behaviors. What do you guys think? Does this make sense? Are you guys able to chat on this chat? Because it's weird that I don't see anybody on here, right?
I'm a little bit worried if we have started the wrong webinar again, as we
there's a good amount of people here, but I'm just wondering why they can't. Can you guys write to us?
You guys, please do us a favor, say hi in the chat so we know that you are able to chat with us here.
Aida will send you $10.
Yeah, and what I would also like to add to that, I don't know who asked the question.
Oh, hold on. Look here. It's messed up here. Attendees can chat with no one. It says, why? Okay. Hosts and panelists. Oh, we should write everyone, right? Everyone. You can see everyone.
Oh,
John Lopez. Hi, you get $10. Chat has been, here it all comes. Here's everybody.
Sorry, you guys. We didn't know we had to enable that. Never had to do that before.
Cool. All right. Chat with everyone too. Okay. Oh, somebody messaged me on Instagram because we were disabled. Yeah. All right, good. Okay, we're good. That was weird.
So much more fun having you on the chat, you guys. Right? So much more interactive. Yeah, so what I would like to add to that is keep in mind you are experiencing that amount of anxiety because you are not accepting. You are not willingly accepting the fact that medication comes with risk, as it does. Life comes with risk. Driving comes with risk. Being alive comes with a certain risk. And the anxiety you feel is the failed attempt to try and control that. So I would suggest that you put your effort more into accepting that, yes, I will take this medication, and yes, I might get side effects. That's the first thing. And the second thing, always keep in mind that anxiety never only stops with, hey, what if you get side effects? It's always, what if you get side effects and you can't handle it? That's usually the whole question. And what we are diffusing is actually the last part of the question, where you say, yes, well, that might happen. I don't know if it does. It might, and I accept the risk because I need this medication. But even if it happens, I will be able to deal with that. And by then taking the medication and not trying to control whatever is going on, but trusting yourself that you will be able to make the right judgment, this is how you build trust in yourself. And this is how then slowly your anxiety about the medication starts to fade away.
Right. Plus treating that situation as I have to get through it, because you're telling a worst case scenario story. It's not, what if I take medication and I feel great? That's not why anxiety is coming. It's because you're acting as if something bad's going to happen if I do this particular thing, whatever the particular thing is. And usually with medication, it's also tied in with, but now something's in my body and I can't get it out and I'm stuck with this thing and I have to sort of get through it and something bad happens to me. So be aware of the story you're telling about the situation as well. Anxiety is showing up because for whatever reason, this particular situation has been labeled as danger.
And something you can't control, right? You pop the pill and then like, oh, now it's going to do its thing and I can do nothing about it. I can kind of relate to it. Like, I'm not very fond of it. So I get the line of thinking. My anxious mind also does warn me like, are you sure? And I'm like, yeah, I'm sure. And I just do it. I just do it. I don't leave wiggle room and I don't allow my anxious mind to ruminate about it. Should I not? You are doomed. If you allow your anxious mind to hop on the discussion, say, should we not? Let's weigh out all the options. Forget it. Then you've already lost. Then you're already in the midst of this anxiety discussion, which usually leads to nowhere but to more anxiety. Be firm about your decision and then do it and work through your fear.
Yeah, anxiety loves ambivalence. So I dropped my kids at camp today and squirrels are crazy around here. The squirrels are all out this morning. And one squirrel darted right across my car, like right in front. I missed it, but he ran really fast, but he ran straight through. The next squirrel, two minutes later, ran and went back and went forward and went back and went forward. And I had to stop and sit there while this squirrel is going, should I go to the left? Should I go to the right? Should I go to the left? And it keeps us stuck. It keeps us in this holding pattern. So if you're like, I don't know, should I, shouldn't I, should I, you're acting like this is a big life altering thing, that something terrible may happen. And if you guys didn't see my post yesterday with the firefighters hosing down the building that wasn't on fire, right? That's kind of this. We're in like, we're in like preparation for danger mode. The problem is there's no danger, but there's the energy for the danger. And so now we're left with this energy. We don't know what to do with it. So let's just do this one real quick. How to deal with heaviness in the head. Same thing. As I was going through these questions, everyone says either, how do I deal? Here's the next one, dealing with. How can I stop? What do I do? I want you guys to make sure you hear all these words, because every question that comes in has something to do with that. How to deal with heaviness in the head. This is not a heaviness in the head webinar. This is how I treat feelings of heaviness in my head. And if I treat it as must be gone, it's labeled as something important that must be gone. Have to keep a careful eye on it. You probably have a worst case story attached to it, and you deal with it. Deal by leaving it alone. Dare is not about what to do with heaviness in your head or stomach upset or dizziness. Dare doesn't live here. Dare lives in the space in between. So how do I treat heaviness in my head? I wake up, I become aware of heaviness in my head, and I go, oh, my head feels heavy. And then you do this. There's something that you do like, oh yeah, when I feel heavy in my head, I go like this and the heaviness goes away. Absolutely go do it. Absolutely, right? If I'm uncomfortable, if this chair is uncomfortable and I can find another chair that's more comfortable, I'm going to switch chairs. But if this is my chair, okay, this is the chair I'm in for the rest of this webinar, and I'm here and I have no other choice. That's the dare part. It's learning how to just be uncomfortable in the chair without fighting through it, checking to see if it's gone, using dare to see if it helped the heaviness. So it's almost the same thing. How do I deal with taking medication? How do I deal with heaviness in my head? Here's a present physical discomfort, and dare is how I treat the present physical discomfort, not to eliminate the present physical discomfort.
Yes, and my guess is that it's not so much about the heaviness. It's more about the implications. Like, oh, what does this mean now? Could it be? It's
a good word, implication. I don't use that word. I'm going to text that to myself.
Do you guys do that too? Text yourself?
God, my husband hates it. Oh, I never thought. He hates it. I text myself all through the night about dare stuff, and it sends a noise when it sends, and then I get another noise when I receive it. And Sean's like, "Oh, did you get the text that you just texted yourself?" Implication. Thanks.
So try and you use dare and you diffuse and allow the question that comes regarding the heaviness. What does this now mean? And could it be something dangerous? Because if it is, should I go get it checked out? And what could it be? And as long as I do not know for certain what it is, it might be something dangerous, and I cannot just leave it alone. Right? So what I like to do is, I always tell my clients, imagine you have a huge anxiety bucket, mental anxiety bucket. And whenever a sensation comes up that is maybe new or unfamiliar, tell yourself, I'm going to throw this into that bucket and leave it there for a few days. If it's not better in a few days, by me leaving it alone completely, I can go back and have a deeper look. But probably it is just anxiety. Like, we think of anxiety, we regard it as just an emotion, but think about it, it has a huge range. It starts from anxiety, tingling sensation, of numbness. Do you guys ever get numbness? I used to get this on my scalp, tingling and numb feelings. Like, oh my God.
That's one of the questions, by the way. Oh, here, I have a tingling in my legs that drive me crazy. The tingling lasts all day long. That, coupled with my social anxiety, makes functioning very hard. What to do? I'll throw that one right in there too.
Yeah. Right.
So what about it?
Anxiety comes with a huge range of weird sensations. And if it's interesting, because you will absolutely know, I cannot tell you exactly how, but you will know when something feels serious and when something's like, oh, what if this is serious? I think I'm having a stroke, or damn, I'm having a stroke. It's really different. Although you might say, oh, it's so hard to know in the moment, but I'm very sure that you do know.
And when it's hard to know in the moment is when you know that it's not a tree falling on you right now.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then that bucket, right? That anxiety bucket after 3 days becomes like the fuck it bucket, right?
Exactly. If after 3 days nothing happens, it turns into the fuck it bucket. I love it. Perfect. You should do a Canva picture of this. Anxiety bucket and fuck it bucket.
3 days later.
Love it. Cool. So I have found the right sheet now, Michelle.
Oh, wait. How do we have it July? Was it 2021?
I have anxiety about my heart. I have my heart checked out by a doctor and he said my heart is great. But I hear sometimes that somebody without any heart problem dies by a heart attack and his heart immediately stops. It makes me worry because no matter if your heart is healthy or not, it can stop beating anytime. How can I stop this thinking? Oh, love this. I love this question so much because
it's like, what's wrong with you? What do you mean? My heart can stop beating any minute. You're like, oh, so much.
No, I didn't mean it that way, but I think it's a perfect answer. That because you can exchange my heart could stop with everything else. Oh, I'm sane this moment, but I could turn insane the next moment, right? My brain is fine now, but I could have a stroke the next moment, right? So it doesn't matter if it's heart or if it's sanity, you can exchange it with everything. Well, Michelle, go ahead. Why don't you start?
It's the coulds. Yeah, it could. Again, my post from yesterday or whatever it was, the day before yesterday. There's a difference between it is and it could. And that's what we don't like. We think if we do something now, we can prevent something that could. Just because something could doesn't mean it's about to. That's where it gets blurry. It's like, there's a truck coming towards me right now. It could hit me. So I'm going to fight to protect myself. But if I'm on the street just going, well, a truck could show up at any minute, that's different. And so everything about that is that whole, I'm looking at the question here, is it really is whatever up until the last line. How can I stop this thinking? See, you're trying to stop thinking about your heart. It gets all mushed up because you're trying desperately to not have a heart attack. But I think you kind of know there's nothing you can do to not have a heart attack. You're really trying to do something to get rid of all the anxiety that's coming because I'm thinking about having a heart attack. So I need to stop thinking about a heart attack so I can stop being anxious. But being anxious might give me a heart attack. And then everything gets mush. Am I having a heart attack right now? No. Oh, I'm having thoughts of what if? Oh, yeah, you're right. Well, that thought kind of sucks. I don't like that idea. How do you treat thoughts? You leave them. How do I deal with thoughts? You don't. You leave them alone. You notice them, you acknowledge them, and you leave them be. What's happening right now is you heard a story about something terrible that happened. We bring it back to us. Oh, that happened to that guy? I don't want that to happen to me. Better make sure I don't have a heart attack. And now I'm thinking about heart attacks all day long. And now I'm trying to stop that. You're fighting unfightable things. Thoughts of heart attacks and ideas of coulds of heart attacks are not heart attacks. But your body is sending you energy right now because you're still acting the same way. You're expending the same amount of energy, whether you're fighting something real or you're fighting the idea of something happening. That's why everybody's so freaking exhausted. It's the same amount of fight that's pumping out, but it's not the same amount of danger. So we're here to turn off the fight for the non-fightable things.
And again, you feel that anxiety because you're trying to control something that you can. You fail at controlling constantly. Anxiety wants you to control. It's like, do something, do something, do something. You get that energy to do something, but because you cannot direct it onto something, because there is no context, there's no danger, you cannot do something, you're stuck with that energy. And this then feels like failure. Like, oh my God, the danger is here, but I can't do anything about it. And this is why I'm stuck with that energy. There's only one answer to this question, really. Oh my God, what if you have a heart attack? Could be.
Yeah, I might, maybe. I might pass out. I might fall down. I might break my leg today. I might
have an accident today. I might. you see, it's again all about trying to control something that you do not want to happen. And you can exchange that with any other sensation, situation, feeling, whatever. You cannot, and also, like, you do not even have a real reason to be worried about your heart. Right? Not one. So if you feel like, if you're really worrying about your heart and there might be something that you didn't write in your question, of course, goes without saying, go have a thorough checkup. And if your heart is healthy, the only right response to your fear is, I might.
Right. Because it says right there, I have my heart checked by a doctor. He says my heart is great. And then, but that's why we're stuck. But it could not be great at any moment. Exactly. Yep. You're right. It could.
Yeah. Period.
Yep. The end. I just want to address Courtney wrote in here, we need to buy the plush toy that Michelle showed the other day. A lot of people commented on that picture. Aida has the plush toys. Okay. She bought them first. We thought I should bring them to this media event, and they're there for, where'd you get yours? I got mine from Amazon.
Amazon.
Amazon. They're from Amazon. They're big though. So everybody wanted one, but it's kind of a big thing to stick in your pocket or carry around. But if you go to like orientaltradingcompany.com, like they have all these little pocket sized ones. I was going to bring those to the event too, but the big ones are really cute on the table. So anything that shows you, no, I can't show it. I don't have it with me down here. It's like a big, they look like cute little monsters. They're like little colorful monsters. And as from as asking the questions, I have a tinnitus question on this list. We will try and get to it. We're just going down the list order. So yeah, get a cute little character. The alarm we like, remember, we like our alarm. It's the good guy. We don't like the sound it makes. There he is. Yeah, I got the red one too. And I got the blue one.
So I have the where one does panic. This is my DP depression friend.
I think that was on Amazon, all the other ones.
There is health anxiety. And this is, of course, anxious and intrusive thoughts. Like he's, what if you have a heart attack? They're really awesome. It just makes externalizing anxiety a little bit easier. Okay.
All right. Any tips for dealing with the frustration of reacting the wrong way to anxiety and therefore keeping the cycle of fearing anxiety going?
Yes, very easy. Fail fast. Decide to fail fast. Every time you fuck up, tell yourself, okay, whatever, next. There's no point at all on ruminating on, oh my God, why did I do that? Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. There's no point in knowing why this happened. Just do it again. And just know that it is a process. You will. It's not a question if you will fail, but when. And not just once, but over and over and over and over. There's this great poem. I need to post that on the subscribers page. Do you know that, Michelle, with a hole? I once saw a hole.
Oh, and then I walked around it. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I saw it and I'm like, oh, I shouldn't walk that way, but I did it anyway. Until I learned to just walk around it or just turn around. And it's the same really with anxiety recovery. You will make, although you know that you shouldn't be saying this, thinking like this, acting like this, you will do it. And I said it yesterday at the advanced call. It's interesting. The definition of learning, and it's like from a psychological standpoint, learning is not academic learning. I'm reading something. Learning is based on experience, and learning means that you have changed either your behavior immediately or your potential of behaving in a different way when facing the same situation. Okay? That is different than just knowing something intellectually. Learning means you already can do that now. And it's a process. So allow yourself to fall. And if you do, fail fast, get up on your feet and move on.
And just to add, from the people who I talk to who get the most frustrated are usually titled to be the most like perfectionist. Must get it right all the time is not learning. That's not how you learn. Any teachers on here, anybody here in the chat who's a teacher to back me up on this, like you don't learn by getting it right. You learn by being open to getting it wrong and allowing yourself, like that's how you learn. And because guess what? You're going to get it wrong anyway. But if you think that learning means must do it right all the time, or I've failed, Like I reacted the wrong way. Guys, this is habits. You don't fail as habits. Oh, I did something that wasn't helpful for me. Okay, now what? Now I can sit and stare and beat myself up, which is a waste of time and energy, or I can learn from it. So if I do something wrong, if you don't learn from it, then you just beat yourself up. So we're all going to make mistakes, but the perfectionist black and white mindset is not conducive to learning. Okay. It definitely, we think it's well-intended, like must get everything right all the time. It's not, it's learning how to be open to getting it wrong so you can learn from getting it wrong. And guess what? Get it wrong. Like one of my posts the other day was like, am I free of anxiety? No. Am I free from anxiety? Yes. And I wrote a little blurb. And then I wrote something like, does anxiety run the show anymore for my life? No. Do I sometimes make accommodations? If I'm feeling anxious, I may or may not do something. Sometimes. And sometimes I do that for sad. And sometimes I do that for angry. But guess what? So fucking what? And if that's the attitude that comes along with it, like, oh, I sat in the aisle seat, but I could have sat in the middle seat. Michelle, you're never going to be fully recovered until you can always do everything right perfectly all the time. And if you guys are like this, drop it right now. Drop it.
Right. And we are desperate. Michelle, tell me, in which situations would you get a panic attack? Is there something in your life that would cause you to have a panic attack? Any situation?
Yeah, probably if I could find something like a closed situation that I can't get out and I'm kind of stuck there, like that would be the thing. That probably would. I've never had one. That probably would. I would probably have a panic attack there.
Me too. You see, you guys, we get them also because it's not a disorder. It's not an illness. It's a reaction. It's just our energy. Nothing more, nothing less. And sometimes it just overreacts in situations that are not dangerous. So the question is not how can you not have anxiety? But if I ask Michelle, well, would you obsess about that panic attack? Would you start to ask, oh, why did I have a panic attack? And what if it comes back? And what does this mean now? And oh my God, oh, I don't know if I can breathe right. This is the anxiety about anxiety. This is the trouble. And this is 100% something that is in your control. Having a panic attack in the MRI is not in your control. Not. We would rather not have it if we could, if there would be the button to not have it, but we will have it. And that is totally okay.
Right. And now to add to that, if I did have a panic attack in the MRI scan and I did get the hell out of the MRI scan, and then I go, oh my gosh, you failed. I'm having a setback. You guys, I'm never going to get this. I'm back to square one. That's actually the problem too. Not the panic attack. Not so much how you respond. So what? I got out of the panic. And if your response to that is, all right, so what? So what? It's so much pressure we put on ourselves to do it right, to get it just right. And like all of DARE is teaching you how to let go of that stuff too. It'll make this process just a little bit lighter. Yeah,
and expectation management, right? Reflect on what do you think recovery really does mean. And if you find that you think that recovery means that your body will never overreact or misfire, and think about that twice because it will. It's really just the anxiety about the anxiety part. And this is 100% in your control. And this is what Michelle put it so beautifully. How did you say? Free from, right?
Recovery is not being free of anxiety. That means anxiety is gone. When you're free from, like here's anxiety, and here's me. When you're free from it, you can replace released from with free from. And so that means this can still be here, but no longer is this running the show. No longer is my day dictated by, oh my gosh, how do I feel? What if it's here? Oh, I can't go out. I'm feeling a little nauseous. Oh, where are the seats? Oh, what's this? Oh, let's check this. Should I drive myself? This used to run the show. It doesn't mean those thoughts are gone. It doesn't mean that feeling never comes back up, but it doesn't matter anymore. And you have to, actions and behaviors come first, where you have to start acting like it doesn't matter. And honestly, it doesn't, like we flew to Ireland, and then I flew to Florida. And at one point, when like the seatbelt thing dings and everybody gets up for some freaking reason, everybody gets up and nobody can leave the plane for like 20 minutes. So this one guy, he's leaning over me and it's like claustrophobic, right? And I was sitting there in my head going, look at all these people. Like, I used to feel totally smothered in a situation like that. And then I would just hang on for dear life for that door to open so I can get the hell out of there, and desperately trying to like not gag or embarrass myself or whatever. I didn't feel anything on the last few flights, but I used to. And so sometimes we get stuck in the memory of what it used to. Sometimes we go find that feeling, but what happens is you find it less often. It kind of stops showing up because you're not desperately trying to make it not show up. It's a hard thing to put into words.
And sometimes it just shows up after years out of the blue. I was never nervous about flights. I love flying. So not this time when I flew to Ireland, but 3 or 4 years ago, I flew to London and I was with my husband and I was so excited. And that moment when I sat on the seat, I was like, oh God, I'm stuck. I'm like, whoa, hold on a second. What is going on? And I had a panic attack. And it really caught me by surprise because I was so looking forward to the flight. And this time when we flew to Ireland and when we met with Michelle and Barry, I had a little bit of anticipatory anxiety because for some reason I thought that I would sit next to a person who's really smelly. I don't know why. I don't know, but I just couldn't get it out of my head. And it happened to be such a smooth flight, right? So my point is, sometimes it happens out of the blue. And if that happens, so freaking what? It does not matter. You just move on. Same the other way around. Maybe sometimes you're very, very nervous and anxious about a situation, but when you're in the situation, you're like, oh, this is actually really fun. Stay curious.
And that's why panic attack, like I just wanted to, I'm picking this up. I didn't do this on the last webinar. See this nice little DSM? I got a lot to say about this book. Some nice things, a bunch of things I don't really love about this. But I just want you guys to know, do you know what's not a diagnosis in this book? Do you know what is not? Yeah, you know what's not a diagnosis? Panic attack. A panic attack is not a diagnosable thing. Okay, so we're not here to treat panic attacks. Get that out of your head right now, because again, it's a panic attack came back. Oh, it's all back. That response, panic disorder, is in there. The disordered treatment of panic attacks. Sometimes your body does the wrong thing at the wrong time. So panic attack is your alarm release, this rush of adrenaline and fight hormones with no place to go. It was a misfire. It's not a diagnosis. It's a misfire. What then happens next is what gets us locked in the cycle of panic. So you don't eliminate panic attacks to fix an anxiety disorder. That's what got you stuck in that disorder. I don't like that term either, but you guys, does this make sense to you guys? Panic attack is not a...
You know why I like it? Because the anxiety disorder, meaning you're stuck in anxiety because your behavior is disordered, not because you are disordered, not because of your genetic or your biology, your behavior and your maladaptive thinking, that's the disordered part. And that's 100% in your control. Anxiety is a consequence of something, not a cause of something. Right? If we truly, truly understand that, then we will feel so much better knowing that, oh, I'm actually doing this to myself. I do not yet know how to stop it, right? But it's a good thing that it is 100% in my control.
Right.
Okay.
I know there's not so many people on the call, but I know at least one of our members here posted one of the things. So I just want to skip down real quick and answer this tinnitus question, right? Might as well, because not everybody's here. Tinnitus and anxiety. Hi, Pete. By the way, I know you're in here. You posted on the chat. Hi, we're going to answer your question. I think this is you, right? Tinnitus and anxiety. I gave myself tinnitus last summer and it tipped me into high anxiety. I was hardly leaving the house. My tinnitus is easily lost in background noise. Yep. The stopping of life it brought about sent me into a spiral of doubt about work, etc. I keep feeling I'm on the mend and it comes back. All the things I thought I wouldn't be able to do, I have. And yet now the only thing between me and my life is anxiety and some ear buzz. Yet once again, doing things, the thought sends me into angst. I guess my worry bucket is full. Doing things, the thought, what's the thought? Pete, are you here? What thought? The thought about what if my tinnitus comes back or it starts? Are you here on the chat?
I think he means that he's, and correct me if I'm wrong, Pete, that
No sense.
that his tinnitus is gone now, but he started to worry again. His anxiety is back, and now he fears the tinnitus.
Keep feeling I'm on the mend and it comes.
Yeah. Did we get that right, Peter? Well, in any case, right? No matter how you put it, I either have tinnitus and I'm afraid the tinnitus is going to bring back my anxiety, or I have anxiety and I'm afraid that the tinnitus will come back. But tinnitus is very much related to stress, and anxiety is a form of stress, obviously. So yes, but can you do something about it? Truly, like your fear of what if this now happens, what if it gets as bad as it was before, is what is actually fueling your anxiety. Always imagine your mind or your projections like a projector from school with the slides.
Mm-hmm.
And your latest memory of tinnitus was like, oh shit, I had tinnitus and I have anxiety and this was awful and I didn't like it and I'm so happy this is gone. So when you think about tinnitus now, that slide is in your projector and you're like, oh my God, this might happen again. I really don't want that. So let me try and control it, obsess about it. It doesn't work, right?
Right. And so here, he still has it and he can't get it to go. And that is the ultimate, us trying to control something that's not in our control. And we're here to get rid of the doing part. Stop the doing. It's honestly, I say this on most of the calls. We are teaching people how to leave shit alone. Leave shit alone. And that's the skill you develop. It has nothing to do with the thing you're leaving alone. It has to do with getting better at leaving things alone, whether it's a ringing in your ear or a lightheaded feeling, DPDR, whatever the thing is. That we had, I don't have it here, but on the Dare Advance call, the last few, we did, I don't see my little stick. We had everybody put a stick and a little black scribble, and we just held up whenever we had something that popped up that I don't like, thoughts, feelings, sensations. I don't know where it went. So, and it was like, here's the thing that's here. The problem started when you tried to do something about something that's not doable. Do you guys get this? It's not tinnitus. It's how I'm treating. If I'm starting to treat tinnitus as a threat, this one particular line, I keep feeling on the mend and it comes back. That means the absence or presence of discomfort like determines how okay I am. And Dare is learning how to say the absence or presence of discomfort does not determine my okayness. It might determine my comfort level, but I may or may not, like my ears may or may not be ringing, and it almost doesn't matter because I don't have to get rid of the thing. It's the getting rid of that we're getting rid of, guys.
Again, you must leave it alone. You must leave the urge to try and prevent the tinnitus or the anxiety to come back. You must leave that alone. Resist that urge. Whenever a thought comes up, what if it gets as bad? Well, then I'll deal with it. Nothing I can do about it. And immediately redirect your focus, right? Not by pushing it away, but focusing on something that is important. And do this over and over and over. Do it religiously. As soon as you notice, oh no, I'm lost in rumination, just snap yourself out of it and say, no, not helpful, not helpful. What is helpful? Doing something else, and then do that.
Right. You pay attention to what you want to see more of, not what you're trying to get rid of.
There's nothing to fix, right? Anxiety always tells us, oh, look, there's a problem. There is a problem. Your tinnitus, your DPDR, oh, you can't sleep. That is a problem. Do something. Right? And that is the urge. Okay, here's energy, so do something. And that is so hard to resist, to say, it's actually not a problem. My fight is the problem. This happened, this started because I'm so sensitized, or I had so much stress lately, or I just moved, or I just had a baby, or I just lost my job, or whatever it is. But my sensitization is up, and now I experience sensations. This is not a problem. It's a consequence of something. Mm-hmm. So I do not treat the consequence. I do treat the thing that led to it. So try, if you can, to reduce stresses, not to get rid of the anxiety, but to help with desensitization. And your body takes care of itself. You are the one creating the problem. You cannot be the one solving the problem because there's none to solve. It goes for everything. Next question. Next question. Insomnia. I'm applying the DARE response, but I'm still not sleeping. The DARE response is not there to make you fall asleep. You're using it as a tool to fall asleep.
Yeah.
If you
and here's your question, Aida. Here you go. Every time I go to sleep, I wake up shortly after the heart pounding, which is scary. What should I do?
What you should do is not use DARE as a tool to fall asleep as fast as you can or to calm your body down.
Yeah,
your body, for some reason, seems to be ramped up at the moment. I'm sure there is a reason to it. If you look closely, look at the past weeks, not just the past days. What have you been up to the past weeks? What has been going on? How were you taking care of your body? So something led to this, and now your body is reacting. And you use DARE to not add more fuel to the fire, right? So here is that threshold. This is stress. You have crossed that threshold. Now you have sensations up here. And DARE helps to not fight these sensations. DARE is not for that stuff down there. Okay, DARE is for the stuff up here, the fear of these sensations. But it is your job to take care of yourself and to help your body and your nerves to desensitize. But because of course, stress is a huge contributor to sensitization, and sensitization is needed for anxiety. Right? Does that make sense, you guys?
I wanted to show you guys something quick I did on the DARE advanced call. I know it's my little messy handwriting, but there's two sections here. Okay. What's here and what's back? This might help kind of answer, because we definitely are not going to get to all the questions. But guys, we did not answer your specific questions, but they didn't talk about DARE with dizzy. We kind of are. Let's say dizzy goes here, or tinnitus goes here, or nausea goes here, or whatever. What is the thing and what's back? What's the thing you sent in a message for? Here's fluctuating levels of some form of discomfort. Okay. There are some things you can do about something. So that you'll say, well, I'm so dizzy. Oh, have you tried this vitamin? Have you tried this meditation? Have you tried lining up your chakras? Sure. And that all attends to this stuff. DARE is this stuff, and this is the stuff. Something might ring your bell. This is what keeps it going. Okay. These are things that something rang your bell, and this is what's going to keep it up and ringing, maintaining that high level of anxiety. What are you doing? What happens just next? The very next second, I've identified something that's back. I woke up and I'm awake. I notice I'm not asleep. Oh, I had a thought I didn't like. This is most likely more of your problem. Where is all your focus and attention? Okay. How much time are you spending talking about it, calling friends, posting on forums, watching webinars, podcasts, seeking reassurance? Anybody ever have this feeling? Reading, Googling. This is how much involvement you have related to this. This is 90% of these questions that came in right here. I'm scared while I'm driving. How involved are you in scared, treating scared as danger or just about to be danger? This is what's changeable. This is what's noticeable. Okay, we're here to change these things.
That's so great. Just hold it up for another second, please. So you guys, when you book a session with us, there's actually one column that comes before what is here, what is back, and this is what led up to it, right? So that could be trauma or stress or whatever. Then we have the thing, and then we have maintaining factors. So, and if you book a call with us, we are less interested in knowing what happened before and what triggered it. What's interesting for us is what is maintaining it. But people are always stuck in the, let me tell you how bad this is. Let me tell you in detail how I'm feeling, what I'm feeling, and what led up to this in my life. It's interesting, the clients are less interested in talking about the thing that is most important. How am I contributing to this? But that is the only thing that matters for the recovery. Of course, the information, what triggered it and what led up to it, is helpful for in the future, treating yourself better, engaging more in self-care, understanding that you cannot push your body and mind so far without expecting it to react in some way, right? So that is normal, but maintaining factors, that is the most important thing.
And the problem is, like, the problem and the solution are almost like, oh, let's go on DARE and figure out how this works. But then if you find yourself staying on DARE, on our Instagram pages, watching video on repeat. Every time I feel something, I must do something immediately. If you guys are stuck in it, then we're using like good, helpful tools as weapons. And that's actually the problem. Here's this thing that showed up. What do I do right after it? Do I get involved? Do I do something to calm down? Do I have to follow a million rituals? Like we have all this material out there, but we want to make sure it's used for the right reason. I said to somebody the other week, yes, for information, so that you can then use that information for implementation. I was telling somebody the other week, I'm like, you should not be reading or talking about anxiety more than I do. That
Yes.
No matter how much anxiety you have, you should not be talking about it more than I'm talking about it all day long. And if you are, then you're doing a whole lot of this. It's really important. What I spend the most time involved doing is the message I send to myself is the most important.
Cool. All right. I think we can squeeze in one more question.
Sure.
Do you have any good one in mind? Maybe something that is more universal? Oh, I love this. Can I ask this, Michelle?
Yeah.
How can I use the DARE approach when I can't identify why I'm feeling anxious?
Oh, that's a good one.
That's so good, Erica, because the why, it feels so important, right? We need to know why. We need to have context. Without context, it's like our brain's like, what is going on? We yearn for that. So everything is coherent. And the tricky thing with anxiety is if it's not situational anxiety, then it's what we call free floating anxiety, meaning it has no context. And that is actually the most frightening part about it. I feel weird. Why am I feeling weird? And now go and find out, because you need to find, if you don't know why you're feeling weird, then that is dangerous. And that searching for the why is what actually keeps you stuck. It doesn't really matter. If there would be an important reason, you would know the reason. If you feel like the reason is not presented to you, then it's just free floating general anxiety, and then just leave it alone. And you apply it there the exact same way than if you would know where it is coming from.
Right. Because DARE is for how I treat the fear that showed up. Because it's almost, look at it this way. If fear showed up and there was an elevator, then your focus, based on that, how that question was worded, would be on how to dare through the elevator. And it's not. It's always how to dare through. Fear showed up at the wrong time. So the only time like you do anything is when fear shows up and it's clearly showing you danger. If fear has no danger to pair to, all fear is treated the same way, whether it's fear showed up for elevators, fear showed up for a work meeting, fear showed up for this weird feeling, fear showed up because you fought the last batch of fear that showed up. Fear is here. Your alarm just going like this. Oh my God, look. And it's like, if you keep responding with survival behaviors, it's going to keep hitting the survival energy button. It's going to keep releasing energy because you keep getting through something. You don't fight through elevators. You don't dare through dizzy. You don't get through fear. When this guy stops hitting the button, when it sees you're not in survival mode anymore. And so it's almost easier if you think of it that way. Oh, my body just sent me fear. Okay, but for no particular reason. All right, so then take a look. Is your house on fire? If your house is not on fire, there's nothing to do. Even if you're in an elevator, there's still nothing to do. The elevator is not inherently dangerous.
Yes. And what did I want to say? Oh, I lost my train of thought. It was such a good thought. Oh yeah, we do have a YouTube channel, you guys, right? Where we say the same thing that we said in this webinar, but sometimes it's helpful to just hear again, oh, how do I dare through, right? Oh, right, I do not dare through. Or how do I diffuse? Michelle has a 4-part series on diffuse, accept the dare steps, basically. So go there, leave us a comment there, and watch this whenever your mind asks you, oh, how can you dare through this? Okay.
Yeah.
Because as Michelle said, it's always the same.
Control, vulnerability, and uncertainty. Desperately trying to control things. And that's the world of the what ifs. If it's not happening here, it's your imagination of what could happen there. And then we fight here for nothing fightable. Guys, pay attention to that. Feels like I'm gonna, what if I do? Feels like I'm about to. Pay attention to those words. That is a good percentage, a good chunk of the questions that get posted. I have something right now in the present. Okay. And it reminds me, and I conjure up some worst case scenario in my imagination. And if I could just do something about it in the present, I can prevent it from happening in the future. Rinse and repeat. Replace that with any present thought, feeling, sensation, and any kind of worst case scenario. Your present fight of survival behaviors is what's key. Of course, you're anxious. And this was my little blurb that I put up with the post yesterday. If you have a thought of, oh, if I go out today and I walk down the city, what if somebody punches me in the face? Okay. So now you have an idea of something you don't like. You go, oh my God, I don't want to get punched in the face. Better make sure that doesn't happen. And then you spend your 4 hours in the city constantly acting like you're about to be punched in the face at any second. Oh, that guy, he's walking towards me. What if he punches me in the face? Oh, good, he didn't punch me in the face. And then you finally come back home and you go, good thing for all that effort. I'm exhausted, but I didn't get punched in the face. Guess what? Those people were not going to punch you in the face anyway. And if they did, you would be responding to the punch as it was happening. This is really so much of the problem. We are like in pre-danger mode. Like, here's fight too early. You're fighting too early. We think if we fight early enough, we'll prevent danger. It's wrong. It's incorrect. It's well-intended, but it is a waste of your resources and your time and your energy. Save your fight for right now things.
Right. And don't listen to me. Right. It's so important, you guys. You heard me say that all the time. Diffuse, 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 diffuse. What does diffuse mean? Oh, I don't mistake the content of my anxious mind with who I am, and I don't take his ideas or warnings as literal truth. But I fully, 100% allow him to chat away. I'm not trying to make him shut up. I can't listen to this anymore. Oh my God, how can I make you stop? How can I use dare so he stops?
How can I turn off my thoughts and shut up my brain? I just want 5 minutes of peace.
Yeah, what you do is to say, you're in my face. All right, listen, I'm busy. You chat away, can sit on my shoulder, can be here, but I'm busy here. Right? This is what diffuse means. Diffuse means I'm taking it from here to here. Now I can see clearly. The thing is still there. I still notice it. I can't help but notice, right? It's not about not noticing it, but it's about not getting entangled in it. And when you do that constantly, what happens is that the distance increases. Whereas in the beginning, he's right in your face, you start to notice that, oh, there's a thought. Oh, there's a thought. And the whoosh, the adrenaline zap with which the thoughts used to come get less and less intense. And this is when they feel less and less real. But when they're here, right, or when you're anxious minded here and so loud, the biggest mistake we make is we say, oh yeah, oh my God, oh yeah, that could be true. Oh, and now it's the adrenaline. Oh, now that must be true. That is the problem, but that is something you can change. When you're highly sensitized, he's very loud, he's on steroids, and the more your sensitization goes down, the more he gets muted down. Right? You are not your anxious mind, and he's incompetent, you see. That's so important. Everybody who has a dog at home, just imagine you would leave all the daily decisions to your dog. Honey, where do you want to walk today? Should we take a leash? What would you like to eat? An avocado, perhaps? Right? Some sugar. What would the dog? Oh yeah, I like this. Oh, I like this. They don't have the competence to make a smart decision. And your anxious mind is pretty similar. It likes to whine and to scream, but it is not competent enough to make the right decision. You are. You retake the parent or the leader role while you allow that thing to be there. Okay.
Yeah, you run the show.
It's
kind of like a upside down relationship now, where every time my alarm rings, I have to do something because I'm anxious. No, you don't. No, you don't. You could do whatever you were doing before and do it anxious. And that's where the change starts to happen. Behavior changes first. And then eventually when your alarm senses, wow, she's not surviving through it. She's not checking to see if it worked, if it's gone. This is the number one, Aida, is this the number one thing people call for? trying to use Dare, but it's not working because I still feel.
Yes,
That is
10 different facets.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm trying this. I'm trying to use Dare. I'm accepting, allowing all day long, but it's not working because I still feel X, Y, and Z. That's not Dare. That was, I think I posted that 4 times this morning as a comment on Facebook pages. Dare is not a weapon to get rid of. Your progress is not determined by if a feeling is present or not. Okay. It's getting better at allowing present feelings to be there, because guess what? They're already there. It's how I treat what's there. And anxiety just happens to be the one that shows up when you're in the midst of getting rid of something. So you cannot get rid of the part of you that helps you get rid of things directly. It fades on its own. You're just really good at doing things. And our job is to teach you how to stop doing things.
Look at what Marcy, I hope I'm pronouncing her name correctly, Marcy Abdellaoui, I'm sorry, I can't pronounce it, but beautiful answer. Thank you so much, Marcy. I get nocturnal panic attacks also. I literally tell myself, you're fine, no danger here, and I just go back to sleep. That is Dare in action, you see. Oh, something happened that I did not like, and I could obsess about it, but I can decide to see for what it is. Oh, just a nocturnal panic attack, no danger. Let's go back to sleep.
Right, right.
Exactly.
And that's your powers and your now what? Not, oh God, why? Now I have to do something. How do I come down? How do I get myself back to sleep? That's the problem. That's the problematic response that we're here to change, not to eliminate nocturnal panic attacks forever.
Exactly. Cool. You guys, thank you so much. Keep in mind, anxiety is a consequence of the failed attempt to control something you cannot control. Let that sink in. Everything is in that sentence. Thank you to everybody.
Hey guys, thanks for coming. Somebody posted how to book a call. You can go on the website. You can sign up for other groups and programs on the call. You can sign up for one-to-one calls. We're going to tell you the same thing. We just have, it's not any different information. It's just sort of packaged differently on different groups and one-to-one calls and things like that.
Exactly. Cool.
All right, everybody.
Good to see you, Michelle.
Good to see you too.
Thank you, everybody.
See you on the next one. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Dare podcast. The Dare app has over 1 million downloads and is helping people all around the world to overcome anxiety and panic attacks. You can download the app for free at dareresponse.com.